Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Francis Pannulla. I'm a recovery coach and personal development coach based outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And also, I think another term that people are using recently is self-improvement. So when I think of self-improvement, thinking of getting better at different skills or different aspects of my life. Some of these can be fun hobbies or anything that you want to, quote, get good at. And I was thinking, I have these lifelong pursuits, things like guitar, things like chess that you constantly work to master and refine over years, that there's this giant skill curve and you can spend your whole life pursuing it and never reach some final end point. But how do we improve? How do we get good? How do we learn, at these different things in life, whether it's our video games or public speaking, creating videos and content, what are the things that we do to improve? And excuse me, I'm a little bit sick. That's why normally I don't get to film on weekdays, but I happen to be home and I was thinking, why not use this opportunity to film? Sometimes things don't always work out the way you want or things don't always align, but why not use these opportunities and make lemons or lemonade out of lemons when you can? So I figured I'd film this video today and let's get started. All right. So when I was speaking of learning curve, everyone starts at a different place on the learning curve, but time and dedication determine where you end. And I used to focus on where I started. Now, when I say learning curve, you would have somebody that has no knowledge of whether it's a skill, whether it's a video game or guitar, a language, anything that you're learning. So a beginner that's poor at it, would be down the bottom. Somebody who's a master of this skill is all the way at the top. Now, sometimes you come in someplace higher early on and you're like, oh my God, I'm pretty good at this thing, I'm going to excel at it, and then you kind of plateau or you don't have the same growth that you had initially. Whereas other people might come in early on and really have no clue, but quickly they find themselves growing in a learning curve. It also depends how much time are they spending on it. Maybe they're literally grinding, learning, researching while the other person's not putting the time on. So that's why instead of getting hyper focused on like how good you are initially at something, and this is a trick I've heard, or a downfall of intelligent people, is that they'll attempt something and if you're not immediately great at it, you think this just isn't my thing, this isn't really meant for me, so therefore I should do something else. But maybe you're missing out on so many awesome things that you might enjoy because you were initially good. So instead, understand the learning curve, and just because you might come in lower than somebody else on it, whether anything you're learning, it doesn't mean that you can't excel and can't make your way up that learning curve given time, effort and dedication. And I apologize if you hear screaming kids outside. They're enjoying themselves, having a great day. So, everybody's having a good one. So let's see. Learning, improving, and getting good, and I use get good because it's like a mixture, like I do online gaming and people would say get good. Well, how do you get good? Okay. Getting good is a mixture of studying and applying new knowledge and skills. Experience over time helps to build mental habits, muscle memory, and game sense, or immediately knowing what to do when. And game sense is the more often you do something repeatedly, you know how to make these instantaneous decisions where you're kind of reacting and know what you need to do because you've done it before. There's no way to get that other than doing the thing. You can study something as much as you want, but that repetition, literally, you're building these new neural pathways and like this algorithm, in your brain, or a flow chart in your brain, of what to do. You get better and better at doing that. Just like a mouse running a maze, they know which way to turn, like this is how your brain learns some things. So I really appreciate and invest in that experience over time, so that way I can get that game sense. It's the only way to build it is by doing it. So you study, learn, and apply, and then do, so that you can build these mental habits over time. So some of the first questions I ask myself when I want to improve at something is also, how far do I want to pursue this? Will this be a valuable use of my time? Because if I decide I really want to invest, hours in really getting good at this game, like, is that detracting from something else in my life? Are there other things that I want to pursue? If I'm spending all day just practicing my guitar, but is that not actually what I'm doing for a living? Sometimes, especially unfortunately, we also have to have day jobs and things that you do. Unless your hobby is, your source of income, then fantastic, get good, keep working on that, but some of the, you have to ask yourself, how much time do I want to invest in this? And maybe that's a couple hours a day or a couple hours a week, and that's fantastic. We're still building towards our progress, but getting a accurate and honest assessment. Okay, like how far do I want to take this? How, will this be valuable to me, and how much time do I want to pursue, this thing for compared to other things in my life? So once I decide I want to learn something, such as like an instrument, a language, a game like chess or video games, whatever, or how to create videos, maybe want to learn content creation, learn about, marketing, different things, like how much time do I want to spend in this, whether it's exercise, I want to learn about running tips, like how much time do I want to invest in being able to run a 5K, how much hours am I willing to put in training that, what is that going to take away from, right? So I find out what do I need? Okay, so if I'm, learning chess, maybe I just need an online chess application or a chess set, maybe some chess books I can get from the library, or an instrument. Okay, can I buy or borrow an instrument? Does somebody have an instrument that they can lend me? Where can I find instrument, information on this? Now, for me, when learning an instrument, this was like early days of internet. I had like a Mel Bay chord chart. I was able to look up some like chord stuff online, but there wasn't YouTube and the things that there is now, that literally somebody can show you how to play a solo. Like, you buy guitar books for things, they were wildly inaccurate, like the amount of information you have access to for how to learn anything is insane these days. So even with YouTube, whether it's chess, or how to create videos, I watch stuff on YouTube all the time. Like, you can find out fantastic information. So at least find information here. What do I need? Physical supplies, and who are some experts in this field that I can learn from? Find people that you enjoy learning from, because if it's somebody you don't really connect as much with, whether it's watching these videos and you don't really vibe with me, it's going to be tougher than somebody that you vibe with, that you're learning from. And I don't knock anybody for not vibing with anybody. Like, that's just how the world works. Find, people that you resonate with. So once again, how do we find the things that we need? How can we learn about these things? Start applying it and start doing it, right? So once I've gathered things I need and some basic information, I don't need to study every single thing before beginning, but just enough to get started. Expect to make mistakes, but learn from them. What I mean is, like, I don't need to study the thing to the nth degree before I start just trying to do it. I want to build that game sense. I want to learn why not to do different things, and you only get that through experience. If it's a language, I don't need to know every word before trying small conversations. If it's an instrument, I don't need to be able to play like Eddie Van Halen to start playing guitar, and he practiced a ton. But just start with learning chord shapes and basic scales. Interesting I put that in, because I'd heard that people like Eddie Van Halen, John Frusciante, these other guitarists, that they carried a guitar around all the time. When other people, suppose you're at a party, you're sitting there chilling, they'd have an unplugged electric guitar they're sitting and noodling with all the time. And for other people, maybe that's like, why do you have your guitar here? You're playing here at a party, you're supposed to be chilling. But like, for them, it's like what they enjoy and they're practicing. And it gave me a sense of the amount of dedication that these people put into their instrument. Because even while I was learning guitar, the people I knew that I went to high school with that maybe didn't have the same social life as me at the time, I was just too busy partying, doing dumb stuff, that they were dedicating more hours to guitar, that they were working their way farther up that, that skill chart, the graph. So it's also, if learning chess, I don't need to know every opening, just the rules and the basic tactics. I just need to know how the pieces move. I don't need to study every single chess game in history or all these different ideas before I can start learning to play. And you don't need to be a grandmaster to start playing. That's the thing, like, you understanding where you want to get to, especially with something like chess. Like, you can take it as far as you want. You can sit there and study and play for as many hours a day as you would like, practice efficiently, learn to improve, and you're probably still not going to get where these other people are, and that's okay. Learn to accept where you get on that as well. Like, how far do I want to take this? Do I want to be an international master? Do I want to be these different things? Like, is this something I want to pursue, and why? I'll always say, like, ask yourself the questions, why do I have these goals? What am I getting out of this? What is it I want to do? Because the more you can understand yourself and what you're seeking, the more I can find the things I'm passionate about and do them. For me, like spreading information to people. So that's why I'm making a video on a damn sick, So after I get started and continue practicing and studying, I can begin to incorporate further knowledge and skills into whatever I'm doing. So just get better, keep incorporating the new knowledge. Now I have some openings I really like. I've gotten some good at some tactics, but I'm learning I'm weak in these other areas. Maybe my middle game's strong, it's my end game's weak, so I'm learning end game stuff. I'm just using chess as an example, where I've learned some basic chord structures and some basic bar chords, but now I'm learning other chord positions and inversions and these different things. Like, now I'm incorporating these. Some concepts or information won't even make sense until I'm at a place where I can understand them. So if I have a beginner and I'm trying to especially like I'll take a guitar concept. So I'm talking about chord, positions, inversions, and different things, and they don't know basic what a chord is. So understanding, the where they're at in their knowledge base in order to be able to receive this information. Let's take language. If you can't speak English, it's going to be tough to understand this video, right? Like there's certain prerequisite knowledge you have to have and experience to be able to understand the next level. And that's the case with everything. Anything in your life, like a lot of things won't make sense until they do. And unfortunately, people can share the information, with you, but it's not until it clicks and you're like, that's what that person was talking about. Now I see why. Now I get it. But that's okay. We're just facilitating these moments. So this is why it's important to just get the basic down and then start applying them and then going from there. So different things will begin to make sense and click. And I try and facilitate these aha moments. I want these moments where things click into place and like, because I've had literally clients say, man, you made a couple things just like make sense for me right then. And I love that. When all of a sudden these different things click into place, a person like, oh, now I get it. I love it. I love it in myself, other people, like them brilliant aha moments. To me, they're wonderful. So, it's another thing I get out of just self-improvement, and, personal development in general, recovery coaching, whatever it is. So over time, we're building new neural pathways and different flow charts in our brains of what to do when. Like, okay, when this happens, I do this. Given enough time, I can make these where they're near instantaneous and require a little active thought. That's that game sense I was talking about. Now, I suppose guitar, it's improvisation. That you get to the point where guitar that you're improvising on a solo and you can kind of hear where you're going. You play these different notes enough times that you know how they're going to sound. I remember early on, I was playing, or I was learning guitar, and I'd asked my older brother, who was teaching me very early on, like, well, how does Jimi Hendrix or something know what note he's going to play? He's like, because they've played long enough. They know what the sound's going to come out. When you see people speaking, that's why they taught people to sing while they're playing notes, because you want to get used to being able to hear what's going to come out, how it's going to sound. So you're doing both simultaneously, right? So at the same time, we're ingraining these into our muscle memory. So now my hand, my brain, all these things are incorporated together. That's why, I honestly love learning. Like, to me, this is fascinating. It's like programming your brain. You can do this with cognitive behavioral therapy. Like, you can rewire your brain in all these different ways, like neuroplasticity. It gives me hope in many ways, with recovery, with mental health, just in general. I love this stuff. So Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers, he proposed it takes up to 10,000 hours to master a skill. So over time you're building this. In my view, these things are what are happening during those 10,000 hours. We're programming our brain and muscles with the required information. So we're just like through repetition, through knowledge, through application, through these aha moments, through these things clicking together, you get a better sense of like even how chords are put together and how scales work and notes and how they translate to the guitar, to where you can sit there and you can know the sound. So now eventually I get to the point where you incorporate your feeling into it. So I want it to sound happy, sad, joyous, instantaneously. And that is one of the best feelings I've ever felt. That's why I love playing guitar, just as an example. But also, for something like chess, to know that you're improving, to work on an opening. Once you get to the point you decide these different things, it's all fun to me. Or public speaking, making these videos. So ask yourself, what do you want to get good at and how far do you want to take it? And then get your supplies, find out who you can learn from, these different things, whatever kind of coaching. Suppose you want to be a power lifter, maybe get a powerlifting coach. It specializes in how to get your bench press and all that phenomenal, specific techniques. Like, I'm not a bench press expert, but if I was your coach in personal development, I would help you plan on how to find that person, how to structure these things in life, how to decide if this is really something that you're trying to pursue. What are your overarching goals overall, and steer you towards these people in these directions, to help you fulfill these goals and help keep people on track. Because a lot of times people get really gung-ho about stuff and then they kind of fall off, but a lot of these things, like, I'll stick with them for years and years and years. And sometimes there's this ebb and flow where you're really working on it and it kind of falls off. But, it depends, like I said, how much time and effort you want to invest in it. And lastly, thank you. As always, hope you enjoyed this video and find it informative. And for private personal coaching, feel free to contact me through my website. All right. Have a great day. Bye.